Shirt show. All right, let's go.
Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Talking shirt! Shirt show! Shirt, man!
All right! Episode 247 of Shirt Show! We're talking with Nick from Forward Printing in Arizona. Let's go!
Hey guys, I just wrapped up a super awesome episode. I just recorded for, I think, over 2.5 hours, like almost 3 hours. My guest host today was Ricky from Presstime Design. Love that guy. So fun. We got a chance to talk with Nick Robinson from Forward Printing. Some of the things we talked about today were going to hardcore shows, working at multiple shops for a greater perspective, nuking your shop to basically start over on employees and, change your culture, figure new things out. We talked a lot about outbound sales ideas, which was really fun. Dude, there's like so many different things we talked about today that it was kind of all over the place, but it was great. And I even commented in here about how I didn't have to segue anything. They all were just like perfectly together. I guess maybe that is a segue. It was just a natural segues the entire episode. So I think you guys will really enjoy this one. As always, I'm doing these episodes. There's behind the scenes people like Christina and Chad putting a lot of time and effort in. It would mean so much to us. I mean, there's so many listeners and so many watchers that if you could just take 2 seconds right now and like the YouTube video or leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or better yet, take a photo of what you're doing, where you're listening to it and what's going on, and share it on Instagram or Facebook or something. That would mean so much to us. I'd also really like to talk about some of our partners. GSF, one of the greatest. It all starts with a screen, and whether it's new stretches or restretches, Frank and his team do it the best. They also offer custom racking and a wide range of other print supplies. To find out more, go to graphicscreenfashion.com, ffffrank.com, or greatfuckingscreens.com. Cleaning screens is no fun, but EasyWay makes it way more funner. Their line of eco-friendly chemicals will make reclaiming screens a whole lot easier. Check them out at easyway.com. EasyWay. It's the easiest way. GraphX is the source for production-ready digital art and remote art staffing. They can help any size shop from just starting out to enterprise level. Looking to add a hero to your art department? Check them out at graphicsource.com. I'm hearing more and more from shops how they are adding Graphic Source just as another addition to their art department. Also, more and more I'm hearing about their digitizing services. I know we all get hit up all the time from digitizers. Let's pick one that we trust and stick with. I think that's going to be Graphic Source. Those guys are great. Reach out to Nick. Just call Graphic Source and ask for Nick. That's all you got to do. S&S has been our go-to apparel source since day one. Discover an extensive range of apparel that blends innovative design with unbeatable comfort. Their customer service and quality control are the best out there. Check them out at ssactivewear.com. If you haven't tried the American Apparel 1301 garment dyed shirt yet, you are missing out. The heavyweight cotton shirt that has the rough and tumble vibe of your favorite concert tee. With a wide rib collar and the vintage faded look, this shirt will definitely be part of your weekly wardrobe rotation. Ask your rep to get some for your showroom today. Speaking of that shirt, if you attended the Shirt Show happy hour in Long Beach, we gave away a ton of Shirt Show shirts printed on that Heather Gray 1301 tee. 2 of the shirts, well, there was one shirt and one hoodie, and the hoodie has been claimed. The shirt, I think, was a size large. I'm pretty sure it was a size large. If you grabbed one, flip up the bottom of the shirt on the inside. If there is, I think it's pink, says winner, like WINNER on it, you won a trip from Live Nation. Someone never claimed that win. So if you have that shirt, if you find it, send me a picture, contact me somehow, email me, DM me, something. There is a pretty sweet prize package that you missed out on. So just double check your shirt. If you did get it, sweet, hit me up. For over 80 years, Stalls has been the leading choice among apparel decorators for their heat transfer materials, heat press equipment, and custom transfer services. Not only do they offer some of the best products, but they have always looking to innovate and educate our industry on all things heat press. Head over to stalls.com to order your transfers and check them out on YouTube to get taught a thing or two. I just got some pretty sweet samples in from Stalls patches. We got like Upstate logos done. They rule. I don't have them in arm's length right now, but I will show them next episode. So pay attention to what they have. They offer a ton of different stuff. They're really, really great at what they do. And they also have that new one now where you can order a DTF and it's already like pre-scored and ripped, so you don't have to cut everything. Definitely worth checking out. I think you guys will really enjoy this one. So thanks for listening, and hit the like button if you guys like it. Thanks. Hey, bud. How's it going?
It's going good, man. I'm just freaking chipping away, going a little bit nuts. We've been mental this month.
Really?
It's crazy. Last month was nothing. Like the worst month we've had on record, I don't know, maybe ever. And then February has been popping.
That's crazy because most people I've talked to, it's been January was like, kind of okay, decent. But February is like fucking tanked. Like I was talking to people yesterday that were like, we didn't get a single invoice written, a single paid anything.
Yeah.
Like
that was happening in January nonstop. This month, I think it's all the tours ramping up.
It must be a Canada thing too. Like,
I think so too.
You guys have it's a whole different world up there. And that was something that I thought was funny, and I just got reminded of this before I popped on. Was we were just talking about Instagram ads, but I saw a video on there recently. It was saying that, and I went and Googled it real quick. It says 90% of Canadians live within 100 miles of the U.S. border.
I buy it.
And then 70% live below the 49th parallel. So like you're actually like more towards the U.S. than in Canada at all.
Oh, dude, I know. I say that all the time. Like, we're in the most southern place.
You're in the most southern place.
With so southern. So, yeah, dude, I'm basically a southerner, and I'm hotter than different places in the States.
Yeah, I was going to say, really, we're not that different in, like, geographically. I'm only like a couple hours from you. So,
yeah. You're up there in Rochester, huh?
A little
I know
lower,
it's close, right?
But yeah, close. Yeah.
That's tight.
Our boy Tony in Rochester.
Big T.
So you were on the show episode 72, and we're on like 200 something now. So what's changed for you since then? That was 3 years ago.
Yeah, man, I can't believe how time has flown by. I've had a little. Not me, but my wife had a little guy in that time.
Well, you kind of had help in that, I think.
Yeah, me too, a little bit. I think he's mine. And that's been crazy. Like just freaking being a dad for the first time at 40 is kind of wild.
Yeah, that's gnarly.
So there's that. The other thing is like, I feel like we are way more focused on the task at hand than we've ever been before.
As a shop?
Yeah. Like I feel like we absolutely have goals. We have things that we're pushing towards, that we're doing, that numbers we're trying to reach, amounts of tours we're trying to do, certain amounts of like imprints, how many touches we're getting with clients per week, all of this crap that we're managing. And I feel like that's been the biggest thing, because way back 3 years ago, we were kind of just like,
winging it.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And as long as we're not going out of business, we're good.
I would love to talk about this, but I actually have a question that I want to talk to Nick about that is very similar to this. So I'm going to leave that for the core of the episode. But I mean, that's awesome. Like, that's huge. Like,
yeah, it feels really good. Like it's reinvigorating. It's making me want to like invest in the company and dig deeper than we ever have before. But on the same side of that, I'm way more stressed than I've ever been. Like,
dude, I fucking had to Google the other day, like, is it healthy and okay to have this many stress headaches? Like, daily. You know that like the tissue like right below the base of your skull? I feel like every day I have a headache. And that's like a stress headache. That's like where
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, what's the one right behind the eyeball?
So I don't, dude, anything to do with that is just, I don't even know. Like I go and I get like massages somewhat regularly, and I'm almost always like, just pay attention to that spot on the back of my head. Like she'll spend like a half hour, 45 minutes, just like going to town on the back of my neck. And I'm like, I think that's just where all my stress lives.
Really?
So just fucking
dude, that could very well be. I feel like my stress is a temple through the eye.
Yeah. Those suck too. Cause you're like, it affects your vision and everything.
It sucks, man. But I mean, I used to sleep great. I used to like have fun all the time and party. And now I'm just this little stress ball, which kind of sucks.
But that could also come with age. And now you're a father.
True.
I mean, the dad thing.
I am 40
for sure.
How old are you?
37.
You're getting up there. Holy, you had kids young.
Yeah. I have a 14-year-old and a 12-year-old.
23, you had kids?
22, I had kids, yeah.
Oh my God, that feels fucking crazy.
Well, I mean, let's dive into the life thing real quick. Like that was the discussion I had when I was younger. Was I wanted to have them younger because I knew that my trajectory with my goals was to be successful and have a business and whatever. By the time I'm 40, I could be like, cool, like my kids are grown enough to do their own thing and I can actually spend my money and travel and everything else. Like I grew up poor. So I was like, I don't want to live it up now because I have no fucking money. Like, what am I going to do? Like, I can't do anything now. I might as well have kids.
Yeah, dude, that is a really good way to think about it. But I was way too, I think, wrapped up in my own shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I was too like, no, I got the band. I got to go on tour. We're going to make it. I don't know if I ever really thought that, but that was the intent.
I don't think anyone ever really thinks that. I think it just happens all of a sudden.
And like making it for me was such a lower level. If we were the like one of four on a national tour, that was making it.
Yeah, I think back then, especially with our band and stuff, is it was like if we had regularly scheduled tours, then I was like, this is all I want to do for forever. I just want to do the show rat, like just as long as I'm playing shows, like we're doing something and this rules.
What was the name of your band?
It was MBF. We were a hardcore band.
Sick.
But I mean, even with that, like our localized thing was like New York hardcore was like where we wanted to be anyway.
Yeah.
So it was like, we didn't really care to leave New York area much in general, but there were plenty of shows back then. It was like, that's all, like everywhere we went was a hardcore show. So, me and Christina actually went and did a live print. I don't know if you've ever live print at a show before.
No,
but we did a punk show on Saturday. Nice. It fucking ruled, dude. It was like, it was pretty awesome. Like I honestly, not gonna lie, had like low expectations going into it of like, oh, I'm going to go be at a punk show. We're going to sell like no shirts. If anything, people are going to be like, can I have these for free? It was like a whole thing. It was actually for a benefit. The show was a benefit, but it was definitely just like a good punk show. But I donated my time and like printing shirts and whatever. And I was like, whatever I make here, I'm donating to the cause. Basically, I told the showrunner, I was like, I just want to put more money into you being able to have more local shows. Like whatever funds you get here, just have another show. That's all I care about. Like I want the scene to be good. I want there to be more and more shows, whatever. So anyway, we went and it fucking ruled, dude. Like there's such a difference between, and I was both. Like I was like a punk kid and a hardcore kid, so I would go to both kinds of shows. But like there's such a difference between going to a punk show like that where everybody's just like super happy and like into it and whatever, and then going to like a tough guy show where it's like everyone's scared to get punched in the face. Yeah. Like
yeah, dude, it's been a while since I've been at a tough guy show, but when I am there, if I feel like pitting, there's just something inside of me that has to pit. So I'm not saying that I am one of the tough guys, because I'm not. However, if Rick's gonna pit, he's gonna pit.
If Rick's gonna pit, Rick's gonna pit. And I saw, I mean, you didn't quite pit, but you were doing some karaoke at the Tiki Bar.
Yeah.
So I was waiting for you to, you know, throw some kicks there. Real quick before I let Nick in, I don't frequent too many hardcore shows anymore. Bill is super into it, and he's throwing shows and whatever. And he dragged me to one a little while. Well, this was a couple of years ago now, where I was like, dude, every time I go to a hardcore show, I get punched in the face, kicked in the head, something extravagant, because I'm tall and I'm like, I stick out of the crowd. I'm like the first person to get hit. So he's like, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I was like, all right, I'm going to stand back a little bit from the actual pit, and I'm just going to enjoy like the show and have a good time, whatever. And they're like behind me, and this dude is like doing whatever he's doing, crowd punching, whatever. I swear to God, he runs up the wall, dives into the crowd, and kicked me right in the head. It was like it was like he was just singling me out, like, I'm going to kick Dylan in the face.
Oh, dude, that's great.
So no, that all that aside, I was really pumped on going this weekend, and I kind of want to do more now. And I'm like, this is cool. Like, if it's just a way for me to give back and like promote these shows, like, then so be it. It'll be a fun time.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's super cool. Well, maybe we could talk about it later, but I used to live print, and I just hate it, man. I don't like, we never make any money.
Yeah,
and it's not just about the money, but like, I go and then I'll talk to some jabronis for 10 hours straight, and I'm like, I don't know. These days, because I work so hard at work, when I'm home, I'm like, no. Yeah, I have no problem separating work and home now. No, when I'm home on the weekend, I don't want to print.
Mm-hmm. I get it. I don't know. We kind of do it on the weekends as like a extracurricular where my staff can make some extra money, because like I basically just split it with them. That's great. It's not like a moneymaker thing. It's more just like a fun thing to do. But anyway, let's let Nick in. He used to be in bands. Let's see what his take is.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Nick? Can you hear us?
Hey,
I can. Yeah.
It's talking about going to hardcore shows and getting kicked in the head. So.
Oh yeah, fun stuff. Yep, I remember those days.
Have you taken a boot or two?
Oh man, more than two.
Nice.
Yeah.
You don't hear Arizona hardcore that much, but that's okay.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually, lived like most of my life in San Diego. So I was, I didn't live in Arizona full time until I don't know, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. So, nice. But San Diego shows, get pretty rowdy. So
they get really sweaty. It's too hot out there. See, I think that's why New York hardcore is such a thing, is because everybody has seasonal depression and they just are angry and just want to hit each other.
Yeah, just beat everyone up.
But have you been to any shows recently like that, or is it like you don't frequent much anymore?
Yeah, I'll go to some shows, but like I'm totally like get a beer and stand in the very back, dude. Yeah. Nowhere near anything crazy happening. I'm yawning at like 7:30. The first band hasn't even finished playing yet,
We went to a show that was kind of like heavy band stuff. It was more like mainstream stuff a couple years ago, and it was me and Bill and Brian and I think a couple other people, and we went, and it was like the first show in forever that I paid for like actual tickets to go to, that we left before the headliner. I was like, are you guys beat? Like, I'm ready to go. Like,
totally.
Like, I'm over this already.
Yeah, totally. I know. Man, yeah. Those were the days, you know. Well,
we were talking about how Ricky feels like when he has to pit, And I'm staying back.
Yeah. I'm in the back too. But,
if the mood should strike me, there's nothing that's getting in the way of me in that pit.
Yeah, for sure.
One thing I've always wanted to do, but I'm a big dude, is crowd surf. I've never done it ever.
Never done it.
I feel like I would kill somebody. Man. You know what I mean? I don't want to be that guy that everyone's like, please God, like, why are you even attempting this? Like,
well, don't jump second story onto the crowd, but you can get a little launch up and you'll be fine.
Who's going to be the original person to pick me up?
I'll get down on all fours and use me like a little table.
I could just run off your back and break your spine, and then I feel bad for the rest of my life.
Dude, it's fine. It's whatever happens in the pit. It's fine.
Yeah. So Nick, Christina was telling me that you kind of started out in the band world too, like most of us have. So can you kind of give us the intro into your screen printing world intro?
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally. So, I this kind of feeds into last week's episode actually, but I got lucky enough to have a screen printing class at my high school. And it was like, I mean, very, very, very janky setup. Like, dude, I was telling Christina, like, we had to spray our screens out after they were exposed with a spray bottle.
Oh,
So like, dude, your forearms would just be on fire. Like
no hose, no pressure washer.
No,
just a spray bottle of water.
Yes, exactly. So like that was kind of my intro, and it was like broken up. So like the first semester was like more catered towards like graphic design side of things. And then like second semester was like, okay, cool. Like you can pick a design and then we could like screen print it,
Yeah.
And then I just started, like I was like, I'll print my own band stuff, my friends' bands, and just kind of got into it that way,
Mm-hmm.
So
well, how did you take it from that to an actual job? Like, were you seeking that at that point?
Yeah. So I had like kind of in between starting that and graduating high school, I somehow talked my dad into buying like a 1-color or a 4-color one station that we like kept in my garage. And I would take on like, 50 shirts here, 50 shirts there. But like, that was one thing I really admired about last week's episode is just like, dude, when I started working at a real shop, I had no idea how to print like a good white. I had no idea, like, just like totally clueless,
You were just smashing ink through a screen,
dude, printing plastisol. Exact. Like, dude, probably like, and then flash drying everything. I didn't even have a conveyor. So it was just like, who knows? Those probably didn't hold up very good, but
well, the nice thing is that if you were printing for hardcore bands, it was almost always a 1-color print anyway. And
exactly.
If it washes off halfway, it looks more tough.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
so I agree.
Definitely.
All my favorite tees look like trash.
Yeah, for sure. So that's pretty much it. And then just when I graduated, I, wanted to print shirts and just kind of started at a shop. The very first shop I got a job at, like I worked there for a day and I was getting ready to go in for my second day. And they literally texted me in the morning and they're like, hey, don't bother coming in. Like,
why? What did you do?
Yeah, dude, I don't know. I just feel like I just wasn't experienced enough or whatever, but I feel like they didn't want to train someone, they wanted to like hire someone that knew what they were doing already.
So they were expecting you to have like, did you go into the interview of like, oh, I print already. Like, I kind of know what I'm doing.
I probably at the time, I honestly can't even remember, but I probably in my own mind thought like, I could print a t-shirt. You know what I mean? But then it's like that rude awakening of like, man, I actually have no idea what I'm doing,
I always come back to this. Like Ryan Kasparian told us a story about, because he was a production manager, about, hiring somebody who said they knew what they were doing. And then the very first day they like scooped ink out of a 5 with their bare hand. And he was like, instantly you're fired. Like, dude, if you're doing this, you obviously don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Totally. 100%. Yeah. Luckily I never did anything that bad, I don't think. But I mean, man, it's
kind of badass though. No,
barehanded. I could see a glove.
I don't think I would fire anyone for that. I would be like, okay, clearly you're a go-getter. You're willing to go the distance here. We got to talk though about what really is to be done. But I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, that's that Canadian in you though. Like just being forgiving right off the bat.
Yeah.
I would definitely let that slide.
Ricky, have you fired anybody on the first day before?
Second day.
For what?
Dude, honestly, he was saying off-color sexual remarks to someone.
Whoa. Yeah.
And it's like, no chance. You're gone. Mm-hmm. No one has ever been fired from Presstime for anything other than a trust-related issue. Like no one's ever been let go for, sucking at the job or any of that stuff.
It's always
like
a personal thing.
Trust issue, then you're gone. Otherwise, we'll get through it.
Mm-hmm.
That's funny.
I don't know. What about you guys?
Yeah, I've never fired anyone on the first day, but I mean, yeah, we've had to let people go for job related, performance issues.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know either if I've let anybody go necessarily for performance. It's always some kind of outside drama or something they shouldn't be doing, like, some kind of drugs or something.
Yeah.
I feel like
I think that kind of for me lands under trust because you know what I mean? Like if I think somebody's doing drugs at work, I don't know, I can't trust you.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
So you got let go on your first day.
Yeah.
What happens next?
So dude, I ended up, which I feel like this is a pretty common thing for like most hardcore kids too. I ended up working at Target. And like was there seasonally, got let go. And like right after I got let go, I luckily like found, an ad on Craigslist for like another shop and worked there for, I think like almost a year. Just like it was in this dude's garage. So like he had like an old M&R. I think it was like an old Gauntlet or something. And it was just like three of us. It was like the owner and then the main printer and then me. And I would just like hop back and forth from like catching
You
shirts.
were the gopher.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm. Cleaning screens, catching shirts. Like sometimes I would help like pull on the auto, but like very rarely, and then, yeah, from there, I like took a kind of a long break to like tour for a little bit. And kind of at the tail end of that, same thing, found a job in San Diego at a shop that this guy's printer had just left. And like I'm super thankful for him because I went into it not knowing a ton. And dude, he just threw me in the fucking deep end. And like, I just learned so much just from like doing it every day, and yeah, that's like how I really like, I worked there for, I think 4 years and learned a ton, like that was kind of where I cut my teeth. I feel like, so.
Yeah. Well, so how many shops in total have you worked at then?
Yeah. So I worked at that one. And then from there, I moved to Tucson for a little bit and worked at Cream, which I think you guys did an episode with Pat. Yep. From there, like right when COVID hit, I moved to Palm Springs and worked for Glenn at Windmill City for a couple years. Mm-hmm. And then after that, that was basically when I ended up back in Tucson and started working here at Forward.
Nice. So yeah. I think the thing is, Christina goes through and she kind of talks to the guests just so people know and gets kind of like some background so that I can look at that and be like, oh, hey, this would be interesting to poke at. Mm-hmm. We've talked to people before that have kind of had similar stories to you where they've bounced around at different shops and learned basically, because the hard part is if somebody just works at one place, mm-hmm. they only know the culture of that one place. They only know how that the managers are at that one place, whatever. Mm-hmm. The nice thing is about bouncing around to maybe like 5 or 6 shops is you get, I guess, knowledge from all of them and like what to do and what not to do more so than the average production manager.
Dude. Totally. Yeah. I feel like that's a perfect way of putting it is like, yeah, exactly. Like you said, learning what to do and what not to do. I feel like I learned a lot of awesome things and then like, saw some things where I was like, if I ran the shop, I might do things a little differently. And, yeah, exactly that.
Ricky, what do you look for in a production manager or somebody? Is it just somebody that's worked there for a long time that you're like, I feel like they can handle this role, or is it more a trust?
I think so. Really. I mean, like the guy that does it for us right now, it's 2 really, really close friends of mine. I know that you're kind of going down this path.
Same boat, yeah.
But these guys really were the right guys for the role because the one comes from a concrete background and he's really good at running people, making sure everybody's on task, doing all that stuff, while the other guy is so systems based. Do you know Pierre? Do either one of you guys?
I do. Yeah.
He has an Instagram page where he talks about process building, lots of stuff like this. Check him out. But yeah, for him, he kind of just fell into it and pushed his way through. And I don't mean that in any kind of negative way. He was just like, boom, boom. Any task that came up, he would hammer it. And he would come up with 2 different ways that we could do it and be like, what should we do? And we would collaborate in these big ways. So I think for me, though, like if I had to sum it up, it's somebody that does it so that my mind can be elsewhere. I don't want to know all the ins and outs of every little thing. I don't want to know all the production details. For me, at this point, I'm so focused on sales and I guess running the biz, like the business side of it, that printing, anything that happens pretty much under the roof that's not done on a computer, he takes care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So truly, that's what I want.
I feel like it's twofold though, is like you have that person who can handle production and you can kind of step back and be like, take a deep breath and be like, oh, cool. I can focus on the sales stuff. But I feel like with me, with Bill, I got lucky because he has that production knowledge from working here, but also he has a which I feel like is maybe even more important, is he has a really good background in just management in general, like people managing. Nice. Because one thing and I guess that ties into what me and Ricky were saying about firing people for personal reasons or trust stuff or whatever, is like, I'm finding that more and more with the growth of the business is it's more people management than it is worrying about printing t-shirts. Like my concern with being here isn't necessarily how to print a t-shirt, because we can print t-shirts all day long. It's the managing of people.
Right.
Totally.
So like and that's the thing with Bill, is he's a very straight shooter. Like we even had a heart to heart earlier today that was just like, I was telling him some stuff I was going through and he'll tell me straight up like, hey, like, the reason why this is happening to you is because you are this kind of person. You know what I mean? Like, he's just not like, oh man, like you'll get through it, whatever. He's like, no, like you're sucking at this because you actually fucking suck at this. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I appreciate that because it gets me into the mode of like, you know, I appreciate that, but also like, what do you think I should do to get out of that scenario? Like my problem is that I got into this for art and for the love of printing t-shirts, and I love sales. Like Ricky, like I just want to do like sales. I want to grow the business. I did not fucking get into this at all to manage people. Like the business side, the managing people, like I just am learning that as I go still. Here we are like 15 to 17 years in or whatever. And it's like, I just want to print t-shirts. Like I don't want to deal with all the other stuff. So having him like be like, oh, I have no issue grabbing somebody and bringing them into this office and being like, hey, this is the issue. This is what we got to do. Hit it head on. Let's not let it linger, basically. And that rules. Like to me, that's the sign of like, you're a great manager. Like, yeah, you can run production all day long, but if you suck at telling the other person what they're supposed to be doing and nipping things in the butt, then you're not necessarily managing. You're just a production overseer, I guess.
Yeah, totally. And, you know, one thing too is like some of the best printers make the worst managers. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't know, finding that sweet spot of like, especially with that position where they know what a production floor should run like, they're like know enough about printing to like, you know what makes sense and what doesn't, but also be good with people and not, like, I don't know. That's a tough position to fill.
I think the good with people part is it's not like you're saying, like if you're a really good printer, you might make a bad manager, is because I feel like a lot of them will say, oh, why are you doing it this way? And you're an idiot. Like you should be doing it this way. Like I'm so much better printer than you. But the thing is what he's really good at is he's really good at teaching and building them up. You know what I mean? Like they feel inspired to be a better printer, not like, oh, I suck. I'm never going to be as good as him and whatever. Like, So I guess my question to you, Nick, is like, what made you want to go from like doing all these like tasks in a print shop to be like, oh, I'm a production manager now? Like, why would you want that role is my question.
Yeah. I think so. When I started at Forward, I was hired on as the production manager. And I think it was just for me, like kind of the obvious next step, you know, like I had just been printed, like at Windmill, I did like a little bit of production management, but not very much. And I just, yeah, like felt like working at a bigger shop and like being just a production manager seemed like the obvious next step for me. So I feel like I was eager to kind of, yeah, like get off the press a little bit. I think we all know that like, yeah, printing t-shirts every single day, like day in, day out can be pretty like exhausting. And I was kind of just ready to move into, an elevated position, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I think that's the thing too, with a lot of people who end up being like head printers is like, what's next? You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like I can't really do much other than just print more shirts or
Yep.
become some kind of production manager.
Exactly.
But again, and like you said, it's like not all great printers can become production managers. So I guess they either keep printing until death or they burn out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
totally.
Were you at that point where you were like, I'm kind of burnt out on this, and the only step I have that you were interested in was production management?
Yeah, I think so. I feel like I was definitely like excited to not be printing shirts every single day, and like, you know, learning more of like the management side of things too, like was definitely something I was interested in. And so yeah, eager to, again, not print shirts every day. And like, but yeah, I kind of just, the timing was really weird. I had just moved back to Tucson and like Forward production manager like position opened, and I interviewed and got it. And it was kind of like, you know, it seemed like all stars aligned type situation. You know what I mean? So
the thing is that you Forward kind of had, I don't know how much you want to get into this or not, but they kind of have like a not necessarily weird, but different structure as far as like ownership and management. And like,
very.
Can you kind of give us a little bit of that just so it makes sense as to why you're doing what you're doing?
Totally. Yeah, for sure. So, essentially like Forward was moved to Tucson from Oakland. They were a shop in Oakland originally, owned by these two dudes named Kevin and Dan, who are like incredible dudes. They still work for the company. Actually, they're just like they work remote in Washington State. So basically Kevin and Dan sold the company to their biggest client, who is located in Tucson. So they moved the shop here, and it went through it was a lot of growing pains, like after moving the shop, like personnel problems and things like that. But when I got hired on, I feel like I kind of started the restructure. And
so that's what I was going to say is like, was it pretty recent where they came to Tucson and then you kind of came in at the same time, or were they operating there for a little while before you came?
Yep. I think they moved here in like 2019. So it was almost 6 years. You know what I mean? So I started working here 3 years ago, and I immediately, again, like just from my experience in other shops, like noticed a lot of things that I felt like needed to change, you know? And just kind of slowly started working on that. I feel like I pretty much had to like retrain everyone on like how to print. You know, it felt like we were starting from scratch, and it just, you know, it felt like exhausting sometimes, just like, starting over. No, 100%. Now I look at it and like, you know, we pretty much burned it down and started over, you know, kind of going back to like just restructuring staff and stuff. Like, I don't think there's one person that worked here when I started that still works here. You know, we pretty much just like totally restructured the staff. We rebranded. We, you know, like just, ground up again, started over. Yeah. So
can you tell me what it was like before you made the decision to wipe everybody out and what it's like now? Like, what is that whole process kind of look like?
It sounds so grotesque when you say it, wipe everybody out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, realistically, like as a business owner and as a manager, you're like, dude, we got to fucking like nuke this place and like start.
That is a tough call, dude. Like,
but that's what I'm saying is like, you have to be at a certain place in business and in life and whatever to be like, I just want to start over. Like, I understand it. So that's why I'm curious as to what you walk into and you're like, I can't just get rid of this person or move this person. I just need to fucking start over. Like, what is that? What does that look like from an owner to management standpoint? And what does that look like for you to be like, you just cherry picking people and being like, well, you're gone now, and this is your replacement, and whatever.
Yeah. I feel like I did a good job of trying to coach people like before we got to the point of like, all right, like this obviously isn't working. You know what I mean? But yeah, we didn't fire everyone at once. It was kind of like a gradual, like, again, we got rid of the obvious ones. And yeah, like just to give you guys some insight, like when Forward moved here, it hadn't been a profitable business in a long time. Like after they moved to Tucson, it hadn't been profitable. The culture here was really weird to where like, it was like, you don't want to print shirts today, don't print shirts, just, I don't know. It was like really weird. Like no one did anything. And I just felt like, like as cool and as like artsy as like a print shop can be, I feel like at the end of the day, we're like a manufacturing facility. You know what I mean? Like we only make money when like the press is spinning. So like that was really weird. And I think just getting people that had been here for so long to like switch gears to be like, wait, I actually have to work now. Like that was kind of the big roadblock was like, they just couldn't when you're used to something, it's like they resisted change like really hard.
I get that. And I'd like to dive into that a little bit, but Ricky, we were talking about this in the beginning where I think similarly, we were kind of went for the first 10 or more years of like, oh, whatever comes and we'll just print whatever. And we're a business, but it's flow. It's whatever. Yeah. So what for you, Rick, got to the point where you were like, nope, structure time. Like, let's all get on the same page and whatever.
Yeah, I think for me, it's about feeding the monster because you always hear about, you guys even ask it on the show, would you rather have 2 autos or 10? And I think the reason why most people say 2 over 10 is because 10 is an absolute monster. You have
to feed the beast constantly.
You have to feed this thing and go out and get those jobs and make sure they're good and keep way more customers happy, all that stuff. Everything is more. But we got to this place where we've got like 22 or 23 people on payroll. And even though we're still only a 2 auto shop, we plan to grow to a 3rd, but that is the absolute ceiling of it because we own the building. We can only fit 1 more. And the idea has always been to fill the capacity as much as possible and not continually grow. You know what I'm saying? Like not more people, not more presses. But as we did this, and we structured out the business with like I was saying, like once Pierre came on and Bob, they started to push through my I don't know, maybe my immature ways perhaps, and said like, no, we need to have a structure. We need to put people in the places of where they need to be. We can't just run this with this guy loading and unloading all day. We have to have 2 press operators. We have to have 2 catchers. We have to have people checking in all the tees. All of these things. So as things started to progress, it got better. So like things were becoming more structured, more organized, but payroll was starting to like go through the roof.
Yeah.
I'm like, all of a sudden, the company that was kind of just cruising yet being profitable was all of a sudden being like, oh my God, man, if we don't make more money this month, if we don't make X amount, we're going to lose. That just like put some fear in me. And then I'm like, okay, now, even though it's small, this is a monster in my world. So I need to feed this beast. Then I just followed suit with everybody else. Everything else was getting structured. I'm like, okay, it's time for me to take sales seriously. It's time for me to take all of that side of things because I always took sales seriously, but I don't think that I was.
There's a difference between wanting to get sales and needing to get sales.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally.
Totally.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I think that I would do. I would say like, I'm working on sales and marketing, and I was. It's not like I was just picking my ass all day. It was without a structure or strategy. It would be like, oh, I'm going to reach out to this guy, see what happens. Now I have procedures, CRMs, all of these things that are working so I can stay on track, stay on task, even though it's still really hard to do it. Like we did, I know you did this too, Dilly. We did some sales training with Kevin Baumgard, and he is just dead set adamant that if you are the owner of the company, you can't be the head outbound sales guy. I'm obviously trying to ignore that and push through, but I see what he means. It's really, really difficult. Like even right now, I'm looking over at my phone because we're chasing a shipment. There's some weather bullcrap going on in Western Canada. We're chasing the shipment, and I'm just looking over to make sure people are giving me updates. And it's stuff like this that gets in the way of me really pounding the pavement. So yeah, even though it is structured, it's tricky.
See, the interesting thing I find with that conversation, and I really connected with Nick's notes from Christina in the sense of you went at kind of a different route. Like you were like, hey, it's time to get serious and whatever. You hired more people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you were like, okay, I want to have more. And I totally get the like, hey, I want to have press pods where I want to have, you know, a loader, unloader, a person at the end of the dryer for that press and so on. Like I totally get that. I've gone to shops though, where it's like, oh, well, we're kind of a little bit, you know, we're having issues with inks, so I'm going to hire a person to just mix inks all day. I'm going to hire a person. It's like you just have fucking people for every little task rather than having one person who like in each role that's like, well, I'm in charge of 3 tasks. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, it's weird. Like the dynamic of like, and Nick, you guys said that you're at 3 autos. We're at 3 autos. Rick, you're about to be at 3 autos. And like, we're running more efficiently now with the automations we put in place and whatever with 10 people than we did when we had 15 or whatever. Dude, and it's like, you're the same way, Nick. Is like your notes said that you got down to running lean at 13 people. And it's like,
and 3 of those people are remote.
Yeah. Wow. So you have 10 people in the shop.
Yep.
And 3 that aren't there. And that's what I'm saying is like, I'm trying to figure out what is, I guess, the best way, because I feel confident that we can crush mostly anything with the people that we have. Ideally, if we get like Rick's saying, where I focus more on the outbound and I train more people like VAs or something to do outbound, and then we get more sales in, the goal is to, just fill those 3 presses and everybody's happy. There's always work to do, whatever. Like we don't have to grow as far as like production space and whatever. I just want to make sure that my presses are running as efficiently and as getting as many shirts out a day as they can comfortably. But everybody's happy. There's jobs to do, because there's a difference between like being like, oh, well, everyone has stuff to do in March than there is with everyone has stuff to do in August.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
We can produce, you know, more shirts in August than we can in whatever, because everyone's in go mode of like, all right, we got full schedules. We can do this, whatever. I just don't want to be so lean that I'm burning out my staff, because my 10 people, 12 people each have 6 tasks to do. Whereas Rick's like, I'm efficient in the sense that I have 20 people, but those 20 people are happy, comfortable. They have full days, but they might last longer. You know what I mean? I'm looking at it as more like almost like batteries. Like we're fucking running our batteries like hard. And Rick's like, well, I kind of trickle charge mine, and you know, like they're going to last longer. So how do you guys feel about that? Because we all have different ways of doing it. Do you feel, Rick, like yours is like strong and you just got to feed the beast basically for the payroll?
That's exactly what it is just feeding that monster, because everybody else is fairly comfortable in their position. And it's all about making sure that the last person before you did exactly what they're supposed to. So it never gets to this point where it's like, oh, we've got the job set up. Where are the T's? You know, that has already been handled by somebody. You know, that guy didn't forget because it's, you know, Jimmy's solo job to get that stuff done. Right. Yep. I don't know. Like it is scary in that way, where when we were 10 people, it was way more relaxed and I slept better at night. And I didn't consider the shop a monster. I was like, no, it's a auto shop. It's great. There's no problem.
Yeah.
But I do think that this is the way for us because we have the company so structured out. And the other thing that I think that it helps with is it does show those people where there is room for growth. So like if you're, starting as the ink mixer and the squeegee washer and the press assistant, you know that you can move up from there. And even some of the printers in like the top printing roles, they know that there's places for them to go because those positions actually exist. Of course, there's a ceiling to that. They can't just, go forever. But I think that helps a little bit with people, I don't know, staying motivated or keeping their eye on the prize. Because another thing that I realized so clearly, it was like a religious experience. I read that book, Traction. Have you guys heard of that?
The funny thing is,
I've heard.
Traction is one of those books that some people are like, oh, I swear by Traction. And then there's other people who are like, I got halfway through and I was like, I can't finish this thing. And I'm a can't finish this thing. But I'm also an audiobook person. So like I'm out here like walking peacefully by the lake, like listening to audiobooks. And the fucking Traction, whoever did the audio for Traction is the most boring human I've ever witnessed in my life.
Yeah. I went to Print Hustlers in Cleveland and I remember, dude, so many people were like, Traction this, Traction that. So I got on the plane and put it on and dude, I turned it off probably in like 10 minutes because I had the same thing. It was just like so boring. You know?
Like I feel like I'm in like natural history class or something. Like, dude.
Yeah.
This is 3 for 3 because I was on a call last week with Relentless. Those dudes said the exact same thing. They're like, oh man, I want to like it, but I can't. And I don't know. For me personally, I could not wait to turn the next page. It was speaking to me like to my soul.
Yeah, but you read it. Right? Like you read it like an actual book.
I started reading, man. I'm like a C- student at best.
I just had this discussion with Christina the other day because we were sitting talking about, she wants me to read this like Be a Better Boss book or whatever. I can't remember the name of it right now, but
you're like, no room. I'm already.
Well, she had the physical copy in front of her. And she started to say, you should buy the book. And I instantly like cut her off. And I was like, no, I don't read. Like, I'm not going to buy the book. And she's like, no, listen, idiot, like fucking let me finish. Like basically like do the audio book, but this book has things in it where you kind of need to follow along or like do a, one of those. I think Traction had it too, where it's kind of like, here's some, what do I want to say? Like almost like a workbook, basically.
Little scorecards and stuff.
I don't know. It's one of those things like some people swear all day by Traction, but I have to give it another go or just, chalk it up to what it is.
Dude, you really do. I swear this thing changed everything for us. Like, and we haven't even been in it long. We've been in it for like 4 months. And as soon as I soaked in all that info, it just clicked so hard. And maybe because we were already on that path a little bit. So he's saying things that really make sense to us. Yeah. But I'm also a guy that's been crying about having meetings, and everybody on the team's like, we're not having fucking meetings, Rick. They suck. And I'm like, I get it. They do suck. But one of the things about Traction as well is that it structures them in such a way. And then it also appoints accountability to each person, and not just people on management. It appoints accountability to every single person in the shop, although we haven't gotten that far yet, because in the book it says that you should run for, I think it's 6 months of just management following it, and once you guys are confident and it's running well, then roll it out to the rest of the team. So we're not there yet.
It sounds like a cult. It sounds like a cult. I'm not getting involved. I'm not drinking your Kool-Aid, Rick.
It is a little culty, yeah.
Nick, do you do meetings?
Yeah. Mostly, we try to just like, keep it. We did for a while do like, all right, we're going to have a morning meeting every day. It's like 5 or 10 minutes just to quickly run through like what's on the schedule or whatever. But, again, I feel like we're in such a good spot where like everyone here knows what they need to do. You know what I mean? Like we don't need to tell them. So like I'll have meetings pretty often with like my production manager, and then like the owner. We have meetings pretty often. He's like not involved in the day to day, like whatsoever. So like, you know, I have meetings with him to kind of keep him updated on what's going on, but that's the extent of it.
What are you getting out of the meetings, Rick? Other than just having more meetings, like, are you feeling like at the end of it, you're walking away with something is improved or something has changed?
Yeah, we're all walking away with the next week's worth of tasks, because that's how it goes. Like it's first your yearly goals, which break down into what are called rocks, and those rocks are broken down on a monthly level. Or excuse me, a quarterly level. So each person on the management team will have, say, between 1 and 3 rocks that they have to get done that quarter. But all of those rocks are pointed towards the end goals of the year. So just say, like, you know, your goal is 10 million in sales, for example, as a yearly goal. Your rocks, at least some of them, have to be pointed towards that goal. So to give you an example, something would be like, reach out to, 10 people a day in our niche. That's a rock for this quarter. Okay, cool. That's pointing towards getting to 10 million in sales. But that's going to break down even further into what are called to-dos. So every week we're looking at our big issues list, things that are problems or things that we want to achieve, and they get broken down into smaller little things. It could be like, well, we don't have the list of those 10 people that we're going to call each day.
Right.
So
how are you getting them?
the task is get how many is that? Get 50 contacts of, just say we want to reach out to bands, figure out 50 bands, get all their contacts so that next week Rick can call every single one of them. And it's stuff like that. And when you show up to the meeting, the first thing that you guys do is look at all of last week's tasks, and it's just a done or not done. So it adds that accountability. It's not like you're in trouble if you didn't get the tasks. But when you're showing up to the meeting, you're like, I have to show up with my numbers. I got to show up with, my tasks done. And sometimes they're little tasks. Sometimes you get those 3 tasks done right after the meeting in the first half hour. You're like, oh, sick. I'm kind of off the hook this week a little bit.
Is that just management, or is that like everyone on your team has these rocks?
That is just management right now. But in once our 6-month period is over, then every single person on the team is going to have their own rocks, but those rocks are going to answer to whoever their team lead is. So, just say Bob, who is our floor manager, just say he wants to get the shop like spick and span clean. He's going to assign different people little to-dos throughout the week. They're little rocks when he has his own meeting with them. So we're not going to have a huge company-wide.
Okay.
He's going to be the department head, have his meeting with them, assign their rocks, probably go back and forth, and they're going to decide what's best, who's going to do it. And then that's how things are going to slowly clunk ahead. Because we used to do this thing that, again, this is why the book spoke to me so clearly. We would do this shit where we would write down 100 goals, like so many things that we need to accomplish. And then I'd look at it at the end of the year. I'm like, we got done some of it, I guess. And it's all good. Don't get me wrong. Those things that we did, it's not like they were in vain or not helpful to the company. But I don't think that they were helpful in pushing us towards further goals.
They weren't like organized. It was more just like, here's a lump of stuff. Like, let's just chew away at it.
Yeah. Which is truly better than nothing. Like, don't get me wrong. That's, I would say, do that if nothing else. But yeah, traction kind of puts it all in this nice, neat little bow. And then once we're done this year, hopefully we reached all those goals that we set out, and then we set a new bucket of goals.
Yeah.
Because again, it asks you to flow out your 10-year plan, whatever that may be. So all of the goals that you set every year, again, it's looking towards that North Star of the 10-year goals. I don't know, man. For me, it's this framework that's just adds up.
Well, Rick, you fucking sold me on it now. Like, now I feel like I got to finish it because my meetings suck.
You do, man. You really do.
My thing with the meetings is you kind of nailed it with like the whole, it's keeping people accountable. Like, I feel like there's so many people who have meetings that are just informational meetings, or like, oh, we got to get here. Like every morning we're having a meeting and they're just standing there being like, well, this is every day. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not focused or paying attention because there's nothing serious. This is just something we do every day before I start working.
Right.
So like, if you're like, hey, everyone's got to show up with their rocks and be like accountable for what it is they were supposed to be doing, then, you know, they're more likely to be on their A game. See, my thing was is that I got a hair up my butt of like, okay, I'm going to be more of a marketing sales meeting thing. And again, like I wrote up this whole thing that was like a sales meeting, like PDF or something that everyone could see and everyone could edit. They could add in their own notes, whatever. And it ended up just becoming a task list of like, like you're saying, like an overall pile. Well, then I would find out that if people weren't specifically in charge of those tasks, every week we had the meeting, it ended up being the same pile where I would be going through the same list. I'm like, where are we at with this thing? Where are we at with this thing? Where are we at with this? And then it was like, well, we didn't have time this week, or we didn't, whatever. I'd rather be like, hey, like you're in charge of this thing. By next meeting, let's have like some information on how to move forward with this thing. So
Totally.
I don't know.
Dude, that was happening to us big time.
Yeah.
So much stuff with no accountability. And like, I don't like that word really because I'm so soft. I'm not that kind of guy who like,
I'm not either. That's
demands,
the hard part.
you know, results or whatever. But this is good because it offers the transparency to the whole team. This is what we're trying to do. This is how close we're getting to doing it. When it happens, this is going to happen for everyone else. Like they know that there's going to be, you know, there's a good reason for them to do it because there's going to be a reward at the end of it. It might not always be financial. Sometimes it might be partially or fully, whatever, but at least they know why we're trying to do it. And when Rick is trying to cram in this last job at the end of the week and they're like, come on, dude, they know that it's because we're trying to hit that imprint goal for the week. You know, they know that, oh, we've got to hit 10,000 imprints this week. We're almost there. Rick's trying to cram in this job. He's taking this last second job. They know why, and they're not pissed about it because they know that we're going to hit the numbers.
It makes everyone kind of rally around it.
Yeah,
rather than see it as a burden.
Totally. When you're in the dark, it's harder to know that stuff, you know? And like, I don't know, I felt like the first 10 years of the company was a lot of that. Not that I was shielding it, but maybe I didn't even personally know myself.
Right. Well, we don't know what we don't know. And then we get 10 years in and we're like, oh, fuck, like this kind of works, but does it really? You know what I mean? Totally. Like, is it actually a thing? So Nick, we kind of got off track a little bit. I want to go back real quick to when you kind of let everybody go slowly or whatever, and then started with a new crew. Like, what was the path that you had set forward with the new people? Like, because obviously it didn't work before. You're not just hiring new people and hoping for the best. Like, was there a strategy to be like, we're going to be a better company with all these new hires because they have more focus or more direction, or you had like company goals or?
Yeah. So, SOPs were huge. I feel like that was one thing that I like took some time and really like, you know, kind of carved out each position. Because before, everyone kind of did a little bit of everything. I always said that like everyone had like 5 cups and they were a quarter full instead of like having 2 cups that were full. Right. You know what I mean? So everyone knew how to do like a bunch of stuff, but no one knew how to do anything well. You know what I mean? So like that was the first big one, was kind of just like organizing the shop and like, having a receiving person, having 2 press operators, having QC, like to where again, like, and really, I feel like the biggest one too is just like setting the expectation and the standard like early, you know what I mean? Cause I think that was the big issue with, when I came on, like everyone that had been here for 3 years, you know, they're like, I don't know, again, resistant to change. They didn't want to do new things. They didn't want to like, you know, I guess for lack of a better way of putting it, like work harder, you know, and like, so I think that's a big one, you know, when we had like new people start, like setting the expectation early, letting them know like what the job is and what's expected and things like that. And then, putting them in a place to succeed too, like training them well and not just throwing them into it and expecting them to like perform, you know what I mean? Like, so Yeah, I think, and also like, I really do kind of live by that, like hire slow, fire fast, like mentality of like, if like, again, like it sucks, but if someone's not working out, like I'm a firm believer in like, let's not drag this on. And
see, I'm a big softie. That's one of my biggest problems is I have trouble like letting them go. And I'm like,
totally.
Oh, let's give them another chance. Yeah. And then it turns into just like the slow burn.
Totally. Disaster. Dude. Yeah. It's really hard. And I feel like, I mean, obviously firing someone for any reason isn't fun. You know what I mean? Like it sucks, but like, I mean, like I was put in my position to like make the company like profitable and successful. And that's just kind of like
doing your job.
Exactly. Yeah. And if I didn't do what I needed to do, then I would be fired. You know what I mean? Or maybe not, but like
Rick, do you fire or does the management fire?
It depends. It depends. I had to fire this one guy because he was sneaking into the shop at night and using the internet. Like he would leave certain doors unlocked and cover up motion detectors. So I had to fire that guy. I just gave him a box. I had this other scenario, which is really greasy. I had to fire my mom. That was tough. I don't want to get.
How dare you, man?
I like how you reference firing your mom with greasy.
Yeah.
But most of the other people, no. Usually, like my wife used to work at the shop before we had a son.
Fired out of here.
Yeah, I fired her ass.
Good.
Too. Actually, she just came back. Yesterday was her first day back, except she is on I think like a 3-hour a week schedule because she's chasing AR. Like she's getting all those accounts receivables all paid up because I'm soft as fuck. And when people are like, yeah, we'll square it up later. I'm like, yeah,
sounds good. I believe you.
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
And Nick, I'm such a wiener, so she's doing it.
Nick, what's your fire method?
I hate it though.
It sucks for sure. Usually, and that's the thing too, is like, it never just comes like, we never just fire someone. Like, I feel like we do a good job of like documenting and like trying to coach, trying to work through the things. But yeah, I'm really lucky in that like our parent company, like they have an HR department. So
you can hand it off to HR.
Well, so I'm always a part of it because I feel like that's like kind of fucked up. You know what I mean? If I was like, I want to fire this person, but I'm not going to do it. You know what I mean? So I'll always be there and I do most of the talking, but having Stacy, our HR person, like there and to like help, like, I don't know, she's so good at like kind of killing the awkward silence that happens and like filling some of the space. And like,
I just picture it being like a Her situation, like the movie where like you just have the speakerphone on and you're like, yeah, I gotta let you go. And Stacy or whatever pops in. She's like, like this calming voice of like reason.
Yeah, totally. Yep. Yeah. It totally feels like that sometimes. Cause I don't know. I definitely get nervous and probably, babble on and beat around the bush a little bit, but she's very like, she's really good at what she does. Yeah. And having her, makes a huge difference, dude. Cause if I had to do it by myself, it would be a lot tougher.
I think me and Rick have something in common here. And Rick, you can tell me if I'm incorrect here, but like I'm just a softie. And then the problem is that they'll come in, like I've only had to do it a few times. That's why I literally hired management to do it for me because I'm like, dude, I can't fucking do it. Like, I don't have it in me. Yeah. Like, I literally just don't. I will fold. And shit like this happens where like someone comes in and I have to like have a discussion with them and they'll cry or something, or they'll be like, I don't have transportation. Like, I will be like, I'll buy you a car. It's fine. Don't worry. Like, we're good. That's what happens. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's not my strong suit. I got in this to print t-shirts. Totally. I got in this to do the fun shit. Like I don't know. Like I don't want to wimp out on it, but it's just not. I'm not built for it. I can't do it.
No,
dude, that's exactly how I feel too. I am so soft, and I'll get absolutely trampled by an old lady if I allow. Like like it's just. But I do have strong people around me, which is good.
But that's my thing is the management around me is like, I'll fire him right now. Like they will say for me before it even comes out of my mouth. They're like, you want me to do it? I'm like, dude, yes, for the love of God.
Like, yes, please.
Yeah. And that's why I feel like with the owner of the company, he's very much that way. He wouldn't fire anyone if it were up to him. You know what I mean? But I think it kind of is similar to why you guys put your management in the place they are, is like, they'll make the call for you and they'll do it. Like, that's just part of my job. I gotta, if I see something not working, I gotta do something about it, So
yeah,
that's awesome.
I will say, I think it might be easier for me if I wasn't the owner of the company. I think it would be easier for me to separate of being like, hey man, came down from the top. I'm sorry. It's got to be this way.
And you're like, fuck that guy.
For sure.
I know you're like, you
Yeah.
always start off with like, I know he's being an asshole. Like, I'm just doing my job.
Yeah, totally. And there's that little like buffer zone, but I don't know. I feel like everybody that works at Presstime is like doing me a favor, and they're like, and I don't know, like I don't want to do any of them wrong. Even the ones that have been fired in the past, I still feel terrible about it.
I feel like the hard part is I instantly connect with the fact that, again, I think it's from growing up the way I grew up, of like, I connect with like, they're here because they need money to like pay a bill or like feed a child.
Yeah.
And I'm taking that from them. Basically. I'm like, all right, well, you have to go fucking slum it out and figure it out because you're not working out here. Like, it instantly just makes me be like, well, like I can't do it. Like but you do, like, there is the other side of that coin where like, if you do need to like feed a child, look at all the other people that are doing a great job. Yeah, no, I get that.
Exactly. Totally.
You gotta do all the stuff that you're doing too, and they're doing good. So why don't you take note, brah?
Yep. And that's one thing I noticed too, dude, is like, people get resentful, when you have a big, like a team of even, I don't know, a couple people, like we don't have a huge team here, but we have enough people where when everyone's working hard and you notice there's like these two people that like show up late every single day. When they're there, they have like a bad attitude. Like, they don't work as hard as everyone else. I mean, it creates resentment, and people like, dude, it's bad for morale. You know what I mean? Like, and like, that's my thing is like, I want to put every amount of like, I don't know, extra money into like, like give the people that show up every day on time and work hard every day they're here. Like, I want to give them more money, and I don't want it to like be taken away because like, we have like slackers on the team, that like don't want to work hard and they view it as like I don't know, just like a free ride or something,
It's funny.
And it sucks, but I don't know.
I had to drive to the Syracuse airport this morning, and on the way there and on the way back, I was listening to this podcast. And again, back to Ricky, we were talking about Instagram grabbing us, but I saw this clip on Instagram that was Mr. Beast talking about his whole story, whatever. I don't remember what the podcast actually was. I ended up looking it up. Anyway, he was talking about how he tries to surround himself with people that are just as driven as him, which is really hard to do and to find. But he's like, because I think the guy had asked him, like, what's your number one like pet peeve with that? And he was like a C worker. Like, he's like, I need an A or whatever. He's like, a C worker could also fit maybe if it was someone doing some mundane task or like accounting or something. He's like, but if you're like trying to help me like create content or doing filming or whatever, he's like, as soon as there's a C player in with a bunch of A's, it like sucks the air out of the room and like makes it worse for everybody. He's like, but if you put a bunch of A players in a room, they feed off each other and like amazing shit happens. Like, as soon as you have that one person in here just skating by, it, like you said, the resentment builds, and like people are like, well, why am I here busting my ass all day when this other person is here like kind of moseying around or like getting coffee all the time or something? And it's like,
exactly.
He was just like, I instantly am just like, nope, like you're out of here or whatever. So I don't know, it kind of plays into that, and I don't know, it's just hard. One thing that you had noted too was that you guys seem to have a lot of employee benefits.
Oh man. Yeah. That's another thing that, I think, it definitely keeps people happy. And I think like the working hard, it like we do have a lot of benefits. So I do feel like that kind of helps and like, yeah, show up every day and work hard. But yeah, so after 3 months of working here, we always do a probationary period. So 3 months are up, you automatically get bumped up like $1 from where you start. And then basically after that 3 months, we pay 100% of everyone's health insurance that works here. And then there's also an option to like add dental and vision for like very cheap. That comes out of the employee's pocket. But as far as everyone that works here, they're all 100% covered under like our policy.
How's that going for you, Rick? With your guys' paying for everyone's healthcare?
We well, you guys know about how it works in Canada for the moment, but there is still room to add to it, you know, for certain meds and massage and dental and eyes and all that stuff.
So we're concerned with paying to just like survive and live a little bit. You're adding on massages.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, we're not we're not there yet. That's part of the 10-year goal, or even our 3-year goal. We're trying to get there, but we add other little benefits. Like we pay everybody's cell phone bill to
nice.
just like make that easier. And it's not just like hand in your cell phone bill. You have to come on our plan.
Yeah.
You know, you're under the little Presstime umbrella for the cell phone thing, but that's just one way to, I don't know, try and make it easier for them. And then we're eventually going to get to healthcare, but we're just not there yet.
Yeah,
totally.
I get that. But do you feel like, Nick, the benefits that you guys are offering, because you had other stuff too, you had like 401k match 4% or something, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And all these other benefits. Are you finding that it's kind of evening out to kind of what we were saying earlier about Rick having more people? You have a leaner amount of people, but you're spending that extra money where Rick might have 4 more employees. You're spending that money in higher benefits for the 10 people. So they're less likely to burn out because they have so many incentives.
Totally. Yeah. We have like a very generous, like sick and vacation policy too, where, you know, like I tell everyone all the time, like your sick time doesn't need to be taken as a sick day. If you wake up and you're tired and you need a day off, like use it. You know what I mean? Like I'm very for like, use your time. That's what it's there for. You know what I mean? So like, I definitely push for that, but yeah, you do make a good point. Like it is expensive to have and offer those things. And, yeah, it adds up, especially for the more people we have on the team, the more we're paying. And
I feel like the thing is it adds up a lot faster than you think. Like,
totally.
I've started adding things too. Like we do the 4% 401k. And I looked into healthcare at one point and it kind of didn't really work because like so many people here had a significant other that they were on a plan with and it kind of like paid for them. So I kind of stayed a little bit away from healthcare, but I would be interested in looking into more, and we can talk more later, but like the whole maybe add more sick days or add more something, you know what I mean?
Totally.
Like,
yeah, man.
I don't know. I'm curious as to kind of how it all works out and plays out. That's the thing is I think the three of us too, like we're all talking about growing as human beings and as bosses and whatever. Cause none of us got into this to be like, I want to be a boss. Where we're like,
hell no.
I will fucking print t-shirts. We're fucking punk rock and hardcore kids that are just like figuring shit out as they go.
Totally.
So I think that's something I'm really coming to terms with is like, I'm not this like mogul business guy, whatever. Like I love entrepreneurial stuff and like starting businesses and all this, but I do it for the fun and the challenge, not for like the sitting down and crunching numbers and and whatever. So I don't know.
What's funny, man, is like I feel like that's changed for me a little bit because like when I did get into it, it was to expand the network of bands and people that I knew and print for them and go to more shows and do all that fun stuff and actually print the tees and print the posters. And I still love printing posters, even though I never do. It was all there and I love doing all that. But I feel like I'm really into the idea of trying to make the business run as good as it possibly can.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a different kind of energy that I'm getting now from it.
Well, I think you just automatically get that when you're 40. Like you automatically are like, oh, numbers look cool now.
Yeah.
Dude, that could totally be. I don't know, but I really do feel that way.
See, I'm just not there yet. I'm saying that, but I'm like the prelude. Like I'm getting there to where in 2 years numbers are going to look real good for me. You know what I mean?
Be there, B.
Yeah. I feel like that's kind of what my position has turned into is like, figuring out like how to get the business profitable and like where we're making money, where we're losing money. And, I'm not good at it at all. I feel like it's very new still. And like, I'm very green to it, but again, like the resources we have through our parent company, I feel like help me so much. Like, I have a controller that helps me with pretty much everything. And like, I can run ideas and everything through her. So, but yeah, trying to figure out, are we profitable? How profitable are we? Those types of questions has been like my big project over the last like 6 months. So
I got to say this, and this is kind of a behind the scenes thing, I guess, is like Christina gets the notes from the guest, and then I kind of create my own questions and my own notes that I can see like down here. And out of 250 episodes, this episode has flowed the fucking best with every question because everything we've said has led into literally the next question. Like,
fuck yeah.
It never works that way. I always have to like segue into something, and I haven't had to segue into anything. It's just been like, hey, fucking next thing.
Dude.
So I don't know if Chad's gonna leave this in or not, but like I'm so stoked that like they have literally all gone one thing, because we went from like production to the team, and then we talked about the benefits, and now the next thing is like you're talking about profits, and it's like, all right, well, the next thing we're going to talk about is how you're into sales now, and Rick's fucking sales extraordinaire now. And my thing over the last couple months has been like, I'm diving back into sales, and that used to be how I got started, and I like delegated it, and now I'm back into being like, I'm actually kind of pumped to do it. Like, I know we were talking about how like Kevin was saying you shouldn't like be the head outbound guy or whatever, but like, I like am getting jazzed again. Like when I first started, where it was like a video game of like, I got the next sale, I got this thing, I got him to do this thing or whatever. Like, totally, I'm kind of getting the itch again to be like,
hell yeah,
like I'm excited to do sales again.
That's tight, man. When you got a little scheme put together and it actually like hatches, you're like,
right, but that's what I'm saying. It's like playing long form video games, kind of like it's exciting.
Uncharted.
I like it. Yeah.
You like Uncharted?
So I don't play that game. I'm just saying in games in general, like
it's so sick.
Yeah, it's not my jam. I'm a shooter guy,
dude. There's gunfights, there's fist fights, there's climbing, there's puzzle solving, and all the little parts in the middle is like a movie.
There is a movie. They made a movie.
Yeah. I know. I did watch.
Well, Tom Holland was in it, and Marky Mark.
What? Tom Allen?
Tom Holland, Spider-Man.
Oh, you're saying Tom Holland? Yes.
Yeah. Gotcha. It's the language barrier between us. It's really screwing us over. Yeah. So Nick, why go from production to sales?
Again, seemed like just an obvious next step for me.
You just want to get your feet wet in all of the aspects,
dude. Yeah. And like I was telling Christina yesterday, I feel like I'm in such a prime position because I've always wanted to like own or run my own print shop. And like, I'm in the position now where I do exactly whatever I want without actually taking the risk of owning the company. You know what I mean? So like everything from like, again, hiring, firing, like the way we run things, the way we do things is like basically up to me. You know what I mean? And so, again, like I mentioned, Forward was in Oakland for a long time, moved to Tucson. And because of our parent company that owns us, like they feed us so much work that like for a long time, it was like, why would we go get local work or do anything else? You know, it's like, let's just print for them. And, Tucson is like a really small place, but like there are really cool things happening here, you know, and when I kind of started taking over, like that was a big one, was like, let's do some local outreach. Let's like try to get some people here to even know we exist, you know, like we're the biggest print shop in Tucson and nobody knew who we were. You know what I mean? Like no one here there's like, you know, a couple shops that print like 1 or 2 color discharge, but like, dude, we have like, you know, we have a 14 color eco. Like no one in Tucson could print discharge that way. And like my whole goal was to try to get people to understand is like, I don't have to go to Phoenix to get like good merch printed or like when they're looking for something really specific is like, I can get it printed here in Tucson and have it done well. So that was like a big push was like, you know, just trying to get people to know we exist and work with cool local clients too, on top of like our big client stuff, you know, but
you know how you said you're the biggest shop in Tucson, but a lot of the people don't know. Is that because all your custies are spread out over this, like everywhere?
No. So,
What?
I fucking, Rick, every time I talk to you, you abbreviate so much shit and I love it. Like it's so good. Like,
What do you call them?
well, I don't call them custies.
Okay. Your customer.
All right, Nick, hold on.
yeah.
How did you get your custies? Tell us.
All right. So, you know, we maintained quite a bit of clients from when the shop was in Oakland. So like we have a couple, we print for like a big climbing gym that has like locations all over California. And then obviously our parent company, some more like, you know, video game, like niche type people. But like, yeah, I mean, a lot of our clients lately are just, you know, breweries, coffee shops, like artists here in Tucson that like, again, like
Coffee shops are blowing up, dude.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Yeah, it's like, so yeah, like that's, again, like I feel like with any growing city, that's kind of like customer base, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's a lot more Tucson these days. Some Phoenix customers, but yeah, like we're really trying to like, you know, kind of break into like Arizona.
You want to be the known shop in your, you know, 200-mile radius or something.
Totally. Exactly.
Like, why are you not going here? Basically is the question.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Rick, what is your, because you said you talked to Kevin. Can you, and again, I like Kevin. I just want to get your take on what did you pull from Kevin? What did you pull from your own gut? What did you pull from the internet and so on? Like, what is, because I feel like a lot of it is an amalgamation of like 5 different processes or thoughts or ideas or something. Like, what did you land on?
So I've been thinking about this because I went to one of Kevy's speeches at the ISS thing, and it was great. It was like the thing that I got the most out of when we went to ISS. But he was like, "Hey, how was it? Was it good?" I'm like, "Yeah, it was really good." He's really concise. There's all those things, but what I think is most important is I feel like the CRM is number one. So he talks about it, and he does talk about the importance of it, why it matters, all those things. He talks you through scripts, why they're important. Everything that he's saying is real relevant info that does need to be applied.
Yes.
But in my opinion, what I got from Kevy after a whole year, because we did this last year, after going through it all, it's like, oh, without the CRM, you're frigged, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So once we got onto the CRM, learned how to use it, all of the other things that he says are so easy now. He's like, oh, here's the script. Follow up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Call on this date. It's all there. So you just follow the task. You come in, and the CRM's already telling you what to do.
So Kevin had like a lot, like exactly what you said. Like we hired him. He came in. He basically said all of the stuff. Like this is how you're reaching out. This is the cadence. This is the, you know, don't be afraid to pick up the phone, like that whole kind of thing. Like went through the whole thing. And it was eye-opening to the degree of like, yeah, like it's always nice to hear from a professional that like you kind of had like the right thing going, but there's things you can tweak and do and like just kind of confirm that you're on the right track. So he helped us a lot with like scripts and like, what, you know, the cadence was the biggest takeaway for me of like, okay, you can't just email somebody. Like back in the day, it was like hitting someone up on MySpace or something, just being like, we want to print your shirts. And then if they don't respond, you're like, fuck those people. They don't care. They don't want to whatever. And it's like, it's the same now. Like I could tell someone at a desk, be like, hey, I want you to outbound like manually. And it'd be like, they would find their information on Google. They would email them once and be like, I just never heard back.
Sure.
And it's like, well, how many emails do we get a day where we see it and we're like, oh, delete.
Yeah.
But then if I get another one in 2 weeks, I'm like, I look a little harder. You know what I mean? I might be like, well, what is the subject line? I'll open the email and then I'll be like, not right now. And then 3 weeks, I might get a voicemail or something, or I'll get a LinkedIn notification that's like the same people. And I'm like, obviously they're trying. Like, let me maybe email them back or hear back or something. And then you might actually make a sale on like, or they might actually capture me on like touch 5 or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's the method. Like the method is that you need to have the cadence and you need to have X amount of touch points, whatever works for you. And it can't just be the one email reach out thing or the one walk in reach out. It just doesn't work. You're going to spin your wheels so much more. So
think about what we were talking about earlier with the Instagram ads.
Yeah.
I buy into them all the time. It's exactly what you're saying.
But it's because I see the same one 13 times and I'm like, all right, I'm going to look at this.
Yeah. Then all of a sudden you're buying an ice cream glove. You're like, I don't even eat that much ice cream.
Rick, what are you buying? And what time of day are you buying an ice cream glove?
The last thing I bought was this weird little wallet that like flips open. And then I got it the first time I used it.
Is this X-rated? Is this a...
No. It's supposed to have a little pen in it. Didn't even send the pen. I'm like, what the hell? And then I open it at ISS and the bills go flying. I'm like, wait a minute. You ripped me off. But it's true, man. It's just like think about billboards.
Yeah.
If you see one, meaningless. If you see like 10.
We talked about this, I think, on the last episode. I can't remember, where when you go to Chicago and you go from the airport to downtown or whatever, there's literally like 15 huge billboards in a row that are all the same billboard, like not the same billboard, but the same product.
Yeah.
Like it's like a hair, like a Just for Men or something, but it's,
Damn,
they always have,
I'd find it, dude. I'd buy it.
They always have these same like 10 billboards, but they're all like funny sayings, like one after another. Because if you just saw one, you'd look at it and like look away and you would stop thinking about it. But now that you see fucking 15, you're like, they got my attention. You know what I mean?
Like maybe I'm balder than I really thought.
Yeah. And it's like, do I need hair? Like, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of the thing. And like, I don't know, like, are you finding out that your outbound strategy is working?
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Like I've been getting actual real bites. And when they come back, even if it's something small, like, hey, don't need anything now. Don't know when we're going to tour again.
But you can add it back into the CRM and reach out in 6 months. Yeah,
and then as Kevin would say, he always wants you to follow up and make sure that there's the next plan of when we're going to touch base. So I'll always write back and sorry, Kevy, if I'm getting any of that wrong, if you're listening to any of this, but I'll always write back and be like, oh, no problem. I'm going to give you a shout on June 1st of this year and see how you're doing. And usually they don't even respond to that. Why would they? But I do, because it's right there in the CRM. The first thing I do when I come in after I check if I have appointments that day is look at all my tasks. And it's like, oh, I've got to touch base with this guy. This guy said, ask him for the money on this date. Whatever it is. And I go and do all those tasks. Then I go into my routine of trying to reach out to all those people. And through my pipeline, for ours, it only has 5 touch points, but there will be all of these people in the third segment where I'm like, okay, I got to move all these guys to the 4th one today. And that's what I do. And I'm also not the one going out there collecting the leads, because I'll come up with all of the stuff that I'm trying to hit. And then other people in the office will go and track down those leads, feed them to me so that I can just do my job.
Right. Yeah. No, that's huge. And it's pretty much the same for us. Like the whole idea of the CRM has been massive, because it just, again, it's like the accountability, and you walk in every day of like, these are my tasks. Like if it was just willy nilly, like here's a list of people, it wouldn't happen the same way. And now it's like, okay, these people I'm on touch 2, these people I'm on touch 4. This person had told me to go fuck myself. Like they're deleted. Like literally, like that's how it goes. Is kind of like, all right, well, I'll hit this person back up in 6 months, and then you change the date of reminder to 6 months from now, and it's like it's so powerful. And we're noticing a lot of stuff from it. We're getting way more. We're noticing that. All right, let me ask you this question real quick. And sorry, Nick, if you're just kind of sitting back on this, is like,
no, it's okay.
What touch are you finding is the most valuable?
That's a really great question. But for me, like whenever we get a touch back on number one, I'm like, hell yeah. Like,
Yeah.
did I word this correctly, or did I keep it concise enough to keep their attention or whatever? But man, I would say like usually they're not getting to 5. So like if they do get to 5,
I either get a hell yeah
never.
or a fuck off before 5. Like that's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
But I'm saying like we've dialed ours like 4 or 5 times now, where, you know, originally it was like email, phone call, you know, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. And now we've dialed it into where like we're finding that our most profitable touch point is Instagram.
Okay.
Like over email and phone call and whatever, we're getting way more responses from the Instagram message touch than we are from the emails and phone
I wonder
calls.
if something about my Instagram is busted, because so many of those DMs that I send never get read. And I'm wondering if they're getting put into the, what's that other folder?
They might be in the new one now where it's like the almost like the business to business. It says like priority folder or something.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Or,
Yeah. I don't know if it's because I don't know why it is. I mean, our Instagram has always been pretty good. You guys have a great one at Forward. I don't know if you guys have a social media person, but like just the content in general has been fantastic lately.
Dude. Yeah. So that's one thing that I recently did was like, you know, I mentioned earlier, we like rebranded and like, again, like kind of got our quality up to where I felt like it should be. And then, just trying to, again, get people to know we even exist. And like, that was a big one. Was I hired, this guy named Sam, who is like basically like a contract, like videographer and photographer here. And,
like a marketing specialist guy or
dude,
whatever. Yeah.
Totally. He's got a package where like you can pay him X amount of money a month and he fully runs our social media for us. Like, takes photos, takes videos, and will post everything all the time.
They look great. He's doing a great job.
Dude, yeah, for sure. Exactly. And it's been a game changer because it's just like, again, like for it to be one of those things that I know is taken care of and I don't even have to think about is like huge. You know what I mean?
It's funny too, because I was looking a little while ago and like there's more and more new content daily, I feel like, from you guys. And I've been following you guys for a really long time. Mm-hmm. But like you can literally see if you scroll down, you can see when it changes.
Dude,
it's
totally
like night and day. Like even the photos are like a certain like lighting. You know what I mean? Like there's a filter or something on every photo. It's like a wall of like, new content.
Yeah, exactly. I think we started that like fully this month, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So yeah, it's new, but yeah, we're again trying to post every day, trying to put out cool stuff. And
even like the photos I was noticing are cool. Like it'll be a main photo and then a smaller photo placed upon it. Like
eye catching. They got you.
This shit's totally cool, man.
Yeah. I feel like he came up with something really original, and I really appreciate like what he's done for us so far, and looking forward to what he comes up with next.
It's not going to be original for long. We're going to copy it.
everyone after this. Yeah. So,
Nick, did you have anything else you wanted to add about your story or what Forward's all about or anything before we get to the fun stuff?
Yeah, not really. I did have a question about kind of what you guys were just talking about, though, like, because that's one of our big issues right now, especially with me doing sales, is like, like hunting down like the bigger clients. And how do you guys know, like, when you're talking to the right person? Because that's another thing is like, you might have a contact for somewhere, but you're talking to someone who knows nothing about the ordering process or anything like that. Like, how do you get that person's contact info? And you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Rick might do it a different way, but like, usually that's like in the first email for us. So it's like, who's the person to talk to?
Okay.
And a lot of times they're giving it like they're like, especially on Instagram, it's kind of like, hey, we would like to work with you, blah, 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 whatever. And then they're like, well, so-and-so is the person to talk to. Like they just give it before we even ask. Because a lot of times, like, even if they're like, hey, we're not interested, most of the response you'll get is on, say you hit up 100 people and 50 of them will be like, well, thanks for reaching out. We're just not interested right now, but we'll keep you in mind for the future. That's everyone's like polite answer for the most part, unless they're like, whatever. So what we do right then and there is we're like, okay, cool. Totally. Like, that's awesome. Like, thanks for responding. But it's usually like, do you happen to have like a contact email or a phone number where we can reach out in the future? And surprisingly, a lot of them give it out, which is kind of cool, because you could have a choice there where you could just be like, all right, like that's the response. You leave it on red and you like move on to the next person. But just asking for like, hey, we would like to reach out to the correct person in the future. If you guys, you know, whatever, a lot of times they give it out, surprisingly. So, I mean, that's been really sweet. There are also some like, I don't want to call them scrubbing tools, but there's like AI tools basically where you can put in the person you're like the website or the business you're trying to reach, who's the person, and it gives you all the emails associated with that website. So you could be like, you could be like, oh, it's, you know, marketing at blah, 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 brewery.com or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, do I reach out to that person or do I reach out to like HR at something brewery.com? Like who's in the ordering seat of that business? Like, totally. So usually with there, I'm like, okay, there's two that it could be. Let's just reach out to both. So totally, you know, why are there balloons on my fucking screen right now? I don't understand. Apparently I said the right thing and Zoom rewarded me with balloons. I don't know, Rick, what do you do?
I'm going to totally steal that. That's great. Because like I just said, anytime somebody says something like that to me, I'm always like, great. I just take the lead and be like, I'm going to touch base with you at X. But asking something like that is freaking genius. I'm going to do that from here on for sure.
Yeah. It surprised me because you know, Antonio does it and it's kind of like, I was like, wow, that's ballsy. You know what I mean? To ask, like, they kind of give you a soft no. And he's just like, all right, cool. Well, like, who do I talk to then?
Yeah.
And again, if they're polite enough to take the time to give you a response like that.
Yeah.
I guess they're polite enough to give you the correct contact info.
That is super cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't think that we've ever come across that problem, like, or it being a problem that much. Cause like Dilly said, like, usually by the first email or first correspondence, they've said either, hey, we can't work with you, which a lot of them say, or, you know, it starts to progress somewhere, or I'm not the guy to talk to, speak to so-and-so.
Okay.
So I've never really had to like fish too hard.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
I think the thing is though, too, is like, I guess it's fitting with you. And this is an idea I've been pursuing lately and I'm having one of our girls work on it, is like, you want to focus on Tucson. And I think like my idea, and again, like this hasn't been flushed out. Like, I don't know if it's going to work, but it seems like a good idea in my head, is like go to Google Maps and find the city or whatever, the commercial district or whatever it is. And then like, if you zoom in far enough, Google will tell you like this business is in this building, this business, whatever. And I'm like, all right, do like a block of the city today. Like, find out what businesses are on this street, like almost like a grid system of like, okay, I'm starting in the top left. I'm going to find the businesses in this like mile radius or something. I'm going to add them to my CRM and I'm going to hit them up. And it's like, okay, cool. I heard from these ones. I didn't hear from these ones. I'm going to do the next mile. And then eventually you're going to fill out this like, you know, 20-mile radius or something. And you're going to be like, I've hit up every business in this town or city at least once. Cool. And then you could go back and be like, all right, well, I didn't hear from these ones. I'm going to try again and so on. And it's like, why not get down to the actual nitty gritty of like, I literally conquered this city. Totally. You know what I mean? Instead of just being like driving around and be like, oh, I should hit up John Towing or something. It's like, no, like here's the fucking actual every business that exists in this city. I hit them up. So that's my method now. Like, I have outbound that's just doing like general outbound for like niche markets. And then I have outbound now that's focused on like our 100-mile radius. Yep. Because again, I'm just like you. Like, I've been here for 15 years and there's so many people. I live in a village. It's so small. It's considered a village of 900 people. There's people in my village that still don't know we exist. Damn. So it's like, I'm not probably going to get business from people in my town because it's like, you know, pizza places and a nail salon and they probably know of us already. But like if I'm branching out to like cities that are near me, they're big areas.
Yeah.
So it's like I want to hit the ground running of like we hit every fucking business in Binghamton or Syracuse or Ithaca or whatever. So I don't know that maybe strategy might work well for you guys of just like we literally look at the map. Every single one.
That's super smart, man. I never would have thought of that. I'm so niche focused that like I don't care where you're from. I care where you're playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that that might also play into what you said before, Ricky, of like you're looking for stuff in your niche, which the niche might be that pile we were talking about before you got into traction of like, here's 100,000 bands I want to hit up. Yeah. And you're just chewing away at this pile where you could be like, I want to hit up every band in Toronto. Yeah. You could just find probably on some, you know, it's not message boards anymore, but like there's got to be some like scene page or something for Toronto. Yeah, you could just be like, boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. I mean, one of the ways that I do it, and this is probably like really old school and there's got to be a better way, but I'm almost manually scrubbing Instagram for tours or shows in my area. So my algorithm,
like Ticketmaster or something you could do almost.
I'm getting hammered with ads from these little punk shows and all this stuff. And I'm like, cool, here's 5 bands. I write down those 5 bands and then somebody in the shop goes and tries to get me those contacts. Sometimes they can't. Most times they can. Then I'm like, great, I'm going to hit up these 5 bands. I know that they're playing this show. We can have the stuff done for that date. Let's go. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes we get 1 out of 5 or 2 out of 5. And I'm like, that's pretty good.
But that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, the thing is even if you get the 1, then that 1 tells all the bands they play with. Totally. And also too, you got to have the fucking, if you're doing bands, you got to have the printed boxes. Damn because right. The bands always bring the boxes to the show.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're traveling across the whole country sometimes. Those boxes are getting seen by so many people. And then there's all of the other people in bands that go to see the bands. They're looking at, I remember doing this when I was younger. I'm looking at Every 100%. Time I Die's t-shirt boxes. And I'm like, whose t-shirt? And I go and I look them up and I figure all this crap out.
I love that you picked Every Time I Die because that's, you know, that means a lot for us.
Yeah, I know it does. But man, it is true. It's that they were the band. I was at work tour. I'm like, I love ETID, sick. Oh, who's this company that prints all their stuff?
I do it now. I mean, obviously we're in a different world. Like we're in the realm of like looking at all the merch it shows. Like I rarely buy anything anymore, but I always go look. And it's the first thing I do is I look behind the table and I'm like, well, whose boxes? Like who printed these?
Totally. I feel like I won't buy anything unless I know who printed it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I wear blank t-shirts pretty much every single day unless I buy something from someone that printed it well. Yeah.
I take a picture of the boxes and the merch and I'll text because I know so many shops. I'll text them and be like, these look like shit. Like that's just all I'll say. And it's like, it's usually like, oh, hey, you're there. Tell them I said hi kind of conversation. But I don't know. I think it's one of those things. It's the one part of our business that can be very DIY punk rock of like, how are we hitting up new customers? Like it's what works for us. Like if Rick likes going to shows or seeing people and making connections that way, then fucking do that. If I'm like, hey, I like to, you know, visit all these coffee shops and make connections that way, then cool, let's do that. Like, I guess if there's a way for you to break into Tucson that way, then kind of, you know, the climbing gym thing's cool. Because even if you guys went and printed a bunch of free merch for a bunch of climbers, like that just said forward climbing or some shit. And they just went to other gyms and everyone's like, who's this fucking forward climbing everywhere? Yeah. It's like, oh, they're a print shop. And then it just, you know, snowballs from there kind of thing.
Totally. For sure. Yeah. That's one of the things I appreciate about Tucson is it is so like word of mouth because it's a big city kind of, but it's got such a small town feel, you know, that like it is easy. Like we've gotten a lot of people, especially now that we've been working locally, is like, oh, you did so-and-so's merch and I saw it and it looks great. So I like came to you guys too. I think the hard thing is, you know, we're we're definitely not the cheapest shop in town. And I think like that's another issue we face is like, oh, well, this shop like told me that they could get it done for way cheaper. You know what I mean? And it's like, I try to, you know, I don't know, talk to people about like, well, yeah, but like, you know, we're going to print it with water base. You know, it's like I feel like compared
it's a premium product.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, I feel like it's hard for someone to justify unless they see it. You know what I mean? Like once
you might not want those customers anyway, though, is the truth of it.
Exactly.
Like,
That's kind of, I feel like that's kind of one thing I'm realizing is I want the type of customer that's going to come in and want, like you said, Dylan, like a premium product. I look at it this way, like how many places say you don't know your like local garage or something. And it's like you're driving through a town and you see all these places with big signs. It's like $15 oil change, like, and you know, it looks like hell and whatever. And then you get to a place like I will drive past 100 of those before I get to like a Midas or something. I'm like, I'm going to go here because I know I'm not going to get stabbed in the parking lot or they're not going to come in and be like, oh, you need to change this filter. Actually, your brakes are broken and like all this other stuff. It's like, I will drive past them and I will pay more to know that what I wanted done is done and it's done right. And it's like, so I think we just need to step back sometimes and think like, oh yeah, like they're doing the same thing. They might be looking at 5 shops, but they're not going to pick the cheapest because they don't want to feel like they're just a cheapskate, and they're not going to pick the most expensive. But as long as you're like showing good work and you're doing the right thing, like you'll get the kind of customers that you want. Yeah. I think so. So
yeah. Well, did you happen to think of a shop hack? I don't know if you had anything written down.
I don't know. The only one that came to mind, and this is such a little thing, but like, I think I've seen another shop do this too. But one thing we do, you know, we do a ton of relabel and like a ton of like, you know, we've got some pretty big orders. And one thing we do is like if there's ever a misprinted like long sleeve, we'll cut the sleeve off and we always use that as like, we call it a size change. So like basically the press operators, like, you know, they'll finish the smalls and on top of the first medium, there's this sleeve. So they'll throw it on the press and like, as it's like coming off the press, like the person unloading will call out a size change so that quality control knows like that's the end of the smalls and the beginning of the mediums.
Yeah. I've definitely heard of basically like a size change something, but it's funny because every person who brings up a size change thing has a different like token or something that they're using as like their size. I've never heard a sleeve.
Yeah, we use like.
I thought you were going to say you put them on like long sleeves.
Oh, yeah, I was like, where's he going with this? He's like, yeah, we make bandanas. Like, I don't know. Yeah. Like,
yeah. So that's like, I don't know. I should have asked my production manager, but that's the only one that came to mind for me. Yeah. I feel like it helps a lot. And just, avoids it avoids a lot of weird confusion, you know?
Yeah, for sure. No, I get it. So. Well, I'm bringing back quick takes. It's like episode 4 of me bringing quick takes back. So I'm just going to ask these like whatever 4 questions. They're not really like just have fun with it, I guess. Okay. Both of you, Rick and Nick, can answer this. What shirt has your shop printed that you're most proud of? Well, Nick, you've been at multiple places. So like, what's the one shirt out of all those places you're like, hell yeah, we did this. I'm proud of this.
Oh man. Yeah. One comes to mind right away. When I worked at Windmill, we did, there's like this skateboarding brand called Fact, and they did a Beastie Boys collab. And we did like a ton of Beastie Boys stuff. And I feel like that was like a pretty cool, like full circle moment for me. Just like, and the art was amazing. You know, it was just cool. Everything came out awesome. I feel like that print always comes to mind. So
that's awesome. That's a good one.
Yeah. Yep.
Rick.
Damn, buddy. I don't know. Like, from like a technical standpoint, it's hard to think of them all because there's a bunch of them, but there's these.
But I'm talking about what one is your, it could even be like a one color. Like I have some that I'm like, there's no technical aspect to this at all, but I'm fucking stoked that we printed it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this one job for, you know, that band Comeback Kid?
Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. when we first started printing for them, which is probably 12 years ago or something like that, when that job came in, they were like the first real band that we got.
Well, they were
like,
massive 12 years ago or whatever.
We're like, holy shit, they're sick. I love them, man. We're printing for them. So that was super cool. We were fighting for No Effects when they were coming to Canada for their final tour this past summer, and we were fighting hard for them because they're just probably the most influential band for me, even though I don't necessarily listen to them that much now. I'm like, we got to print them. That was the White Whale. One of the guys that works at the shop is like an outside rep. He has a band on Fat Records. I'm like, hey, make it happen, dude. And we went that so hard, and I feel like we lost it over cents.
Oh man,
I'm like, because I totally would have flexed on. I'm like, cents? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
not to dive too hard back into the sales thing, but that always pisses me off, like more than anything. When there is a job that you're really passionate about or want to get, or it is that White Whale that you've been fighting for months, and you're going back and forth and they're asking you for quotes, and then all of a sudden they ghost you, and you're like, where did they go? Like, what the hell? And then you find out a month or two later that you can see their new merch, and you hit them up and you're like, hey, like, and it sucks to crawl back too, but you email them and you're like, what happened? Like, why did you choose to go with this other company? And they're like, oh, they were a little bit cheaper. And you're like, all you had to do was fucking ask me. Be like, hey, like it's between you and this other place, and this other, like, I want to work with you, but this other place is like 3 cents cheaper, 5 cents cheaper. All day I'd be like, all right, cool. Like, let's figure, like, done. No big deal. But it never happens. They just ghost you. And it's like, that's the worst for me. Like that hits me in my heart every time.
Dude, I know, because it's right there.
Right. And then you work so hard, you're so pumped, like, oh, I got them on the line, they want a price and all this, and it just doesn't work out.
Man, I was going to ask you guys about that earlier, but like we don't have to go talk about it, but I was going to ask if you guys flex on price, because I definitely do. But part of that is because of the goals that we've set where we're trying to reach them. And I'm like, okay, we could have this job for 50 cents less per tee than we wanted, or not have it at all. You know, if it's crazy, no.
For me, that question always comes down to how hungry we are. So like midsummer when we're busy, I'll say, this is the price. This is what it is. When it's fucking January and someone's like, hey, normally I want to do, like, we'll do shit now when it's slow as fuck, where I'll be like, oh, you wanted a 12 color on 12 shirts? I'm like, all right, cool. Like, let's do it. You know what I mean? Like, you would say no to that. Or someone's like, oh, so-and-so down the street can do this for $1 cheaper. I'm like, cool, bring it in. Like, because like you said, it's work or no work. Like, I will take it now. But when you're coming at me when I'm busy and I have too much work to do, I'm probably not going to match a price or go cheaper or whatever it is.
Good call.
For me, I think it just depends on what it is. You know what I mean? Like, if it's someone who I feel like is just looking like they're a one-time buyer, you know what I mean? If I feel like there's potential for like there to be like a good relationship, I feel like I'm definitely more inclined to like work with them. But I don't know. Again, just depends on what it is.
There's that other thing when you said it is what it is. I was also thinking too, like, if the customer's coming to me and they're like, hey, I need 1,000 heather gray shirts with black ink. I'm like, dude, price, let's talk, because I can do this job in seconds. Like,
totally.
Like, no problem. But if they're like, usually when they're coming at me and haggling on price, it's like, oh, I want to do a gold foil neck tag and like both sleeve prints and like 12 color back. It's like, I don't even want to do this job for any amount of money. Like, this is going to suck. Like,
or if they're just big time jabronis, then you're like, nah.
No, it's usually it's gauged.
Have you guys ever purposefully priced yourself out of a job?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, for sure. The worst is when they accept it.
And then you get it still. You're like,
I know, dude. Yeah, I know.
Oh, actually, this t-shirt's going to cost $24 a piece. And they're like, all right, twist my arm. And it's like, fuck. Like,
you're like,
oh, by the way, did I mention that our turnaround is like 85 days? And they're like, we'll wait. And it's like, fuck.
That's the worst.
All right, next question. If you could snap your fingers and change one major thing about your shop, what would it be?
Damn, dude, this is heavy stuff.
That's hard. Yeah.
Well, you got a genie right now and you can improve any area of your shop. What would it be?
Dude, bigger, better clients for sure. I feel like that's really the main thing we're struggling with, is just like, how do we get clients that are going to keep us busy all year long. You want
a couple old reliables.
Oh, dude. Yeah. If we could have like 3 more versions of like our parent company, like that would be the greatest thing that could ever happen to us.
See, I got into an argument, not an argument, but like me and Brian kind of got in this a little while ago, and he kind of brought me back to reality, where I was in the same boat as you, where I was like, you know what I really want my focus, like my new sales goal is to get some of these whale clients where I'm like, you know what, they're going to order once a month and they're going to be good orders. They're going to whatever. And he got to talking to me about it. He's like kind of fighting me on it a little bit and was like, are you sure? Because a lot of times they're ones that are more on you about price. They're ones that are more on you about turnaround time. They're more on you about like, oh, you mess something up, they're just gone out of nowhere.
Yeah.
He's like, shouldn't we just focus on getting more and more of the like medium sized to smaller things where, you know, we're making really good margins. They're not complaining about turnaround. Like, price is just what it is. And I think getting kicked in the nuts like 4 or 5 times by some of these really big ones that we did land, but then they did really fight us on price, or they did just disappear out of nowhere. I looked at him and I was like, yeah, you were right. Like,
yeah, that's a good point.
I now my focus is like people that are slightly under the radar, but big enough where they're like, oh yeah, you know, every month we want like 500 of this and 200 of this and whatever. Not the people who are like, oh, I need 10,000 of this, because they're the people that'll make or break you.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. When that's all you have too. I think it goes back to kind of what we were talking about when you have like 10 autos. Like, if that client leaves, if you lose one of those clients, it's just like,
because the problem is they start to consume you, where it's like you end up pushing normal clients out of the way, because you're like, oh, so-and-so is coming in and they need 10,000 pieces of 10 different designs and it's got to go out by Friday. You're like, okay, cool. I'm going to move all the stuff I had on this week to next week. Yeah. And then all those regular clients who have been with you for 10 years are now getting bumped for this one whale. And then what it ends up being is, over years, say you keep those, say you have 5 huge clients or something, you end up slowly getting rid of all the little ones because you keep pushing them out of the way, and then you're living off of those 5 clients. When 1 or 2 of them goes away, it's like, cool, like I just lost 50% of my business because so and so left. Totally. Like, then you get screwed. So that's why he was like, dude, diversity all day long. Like, if we can do these medium to smaller places, like if we lose one, like, not to say who cares, but like, who cares? Like, totally. I'll just go get another one and it's not going to affect my bottom line or anything. So I don't know. That was kind of a moment for me of like, oh like I need to settle down a little bit and realize what's important.
That's a really good point for sure.
All right, Ricky, snap your fingers. What are you adding? What are you changing?
I don't know. I feel like this is a lame answer, but stress. If I could just like,
dude, that's not lame at all. Like, I would, that's be my answer.
Yeah. Is it? If I could rid the shop of all that stress, because dude, you know about my little soft, gushy soul. I just want everybody to be happy. I know that sounds lame. It says it
it's
right. It's
not lame at all.
I'm proud to be in the business of making people happy, because really, I want everybody under our roof, everybody we work with, to be happy, stress free. The stuff to show up on time. You love it. All of that crap. Yeah. And that's the stuff that keeps me up at night.
You want sunshine and rainbows to be over Presstime at all time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it, dude. That literally would be mine too. That would be my pick.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We are just cruising. Everyone's in good mood. Music's playing. Like, everyone's having a good time. If I could do that for all time, I would pick that over huge clients or more money. Just happiness in general and no stress all day long.
Like I say it all the time. Obviously, there's a little bit about this that is about money, because we got to keep the lights on. But that's not why I do this.
But I want enough to where we're all happy, not we're buying boats and shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Next question. And this kind of falls into Forward being so great recently. What are some pages on Instagram that you pull inspiration from? Who's your go-to
Yeah.
where you're like, oh, I really like their stuff and they make me want
Mine's
to
all
keep working?
food shit.
Well, it could be food. I'm not
Yeah.
asking necessarily about printing. Where are you pulling your motivation from?
Oh, I got to know their names, dude.
mean,
my algo
I'd
is
like an answer.
perfect. Mine's perfect. It's just pizza, beer, pizza,
Right.
and it's like it just works out perfectly in that way.
I like it. Okay. So pizza stuff. All right, Nick.
Dude, honestly, like, I don't know. That's tough. I feel like I really only use Instagram for like, to like look at printing stuff most of the time, or like tattoos, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. A big one like in the industry is I just feel like Superior Ink does it so well, you know, like their Instagram is always good.
Yeah, they're pretty on point.
Yeah. And like, I love like just the diversity of like their posting too, like is just, it's good. So
Nice.
yeah.
I like those answers. Those are both good.
Yeah.
Where do you go for your inspiration?
Yeah.
I mean, I like the off the cuff print stuff that's weird. Like, I like seeing people laying down a shirt and they have this massive screen they made themselves and they're doing like an all over print on the floor, or they're bleaching a hoodie and then they have little bottles of dye that they're spraying the bleach spots, and then they're screen printing a left chest, and then they're custom scribing a fucking tag. And like those things to me inspire me to be like, oh, cool. Like this is something I haven't seen before, or I'd like to implement this or whatever. So like my algorithm is like stuff like that. Obviously, like every other print shop is on there too, and I see what everybody's doing. But again, it's those things like that that make me be like, oh, cool. Like I want to try something like that. And then it's just drum videos. Like I follow a ton of just like drummers playing along to things. Like it's just, I will sit there for hours and just watch drum videos.
Were you the drummer in your band?
I was for one of them. Yeah.
Oh, sick.
Like I can't wait to build the house by the lake because I want to have a drum room where I can just like destroy things.
Unreal.
So
I watch a lot of drum videos too.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite things is to just watch drum video, which is weird. It's just sitting on a couch watching someone else drum for hours.
Yeah. Me realize how much I suck.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. They make it look flawless.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. What is your favorite meme of all time?
Can it be like a little video?
It could be a little thing, anything.
Dude, I like turtles. Just comes to mind. But like,
yeah.
I don't know if that.
I feel like you're the I like turtles kid.
I like turtles. I just like I say that in my mind all the time. I don't know. There's a whole bunch though. I like a bunch. I like all that Eddie Murphy stuff from Coming to America. All that sexual chocolate stuff. That's
we're finding out more and more things about you. Nick, what's your go-to? You didn't seem like you were fully on there that much, but
no, yeah. I feel like these ones are older, but dude, when like the Bad Luck Brian like memes were happening, do you guys remember those?
Yeah.
Oh.
Dude, I remember like crying at some of those, dude. Those are so funny. Like, yeah, those ones are hilarious.
I get sent so many. I'm in like not groups, but there's a couple close friends like Jared AKT. Like we send probably 20 a day to each other of just like different memes or different reels or whatever. And it's just like, I'm that person where I will communicate full conversations with friends in memes, like saved on my phone. I have one for every occasion, every conversation, whatever. One of my favorite ones is like just a clip that I saved from Stains. I think it's been a while song where he just goes, it's been a while. Like anytime anybody says anything that I haven't heard from in a while, it's just like, it's been a while. Like I'll just send that all the time. I don't know. I have full conversation. Like I love memes so much. It's just,
hey, have you guys seen that Alice in Chains one where it says, you're at Taco Bell. Would you like to round up your bill from $13.98 to $14? And then it gets to that part in that Alice in Chains song.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah. That one's pretty good. What about the Billy Corgan one? Like
The
going
Wii
down
on the roller coaster?
Dude, holy shit. That one is so fucking funny.
I
Gotta get
laughed
my
for
handy
you.
game.
That one is, I knew exactly what you were talking about when it was happening,
Dude,
because I
yeah.
laughed. I've seen that one many, many times.
Dude, yeah, that one's really funny.
Well, guys, I really appreciate you doing this with me. This was so fun. I feel like we could talk
yeah.
forever. We've already been talking for what, 2.5 hours?
We've been going.
Yeah.
So that's what I love about this stuff. I love about this industry. I love that we all have shit in common and we find it out.
Fuck yeah.
We do the show and it's great. But I'd love to reach out to you, Nick, at some point about a couple things that we talked about. And Rick, thank you so much for doing this with me. I love talking to you. It's fun.
Of course, man.
And I
Thanks for
literally
having
have
me,
a
buddy.
note
Oh, yeah.
on my computer to reach out to you for the trip up and the Maddie's Patties we're gonna eat.
Oh, let's
So,
do it.
Oh,
Let's do
man. Yeah.
Dude, it's not hype. All of his restaurants rip.
Okay, well, let's do it. I'm ready. All right, guys, have a good day. I'll see you later.
Yeah, you too, man.
Later,
It's good
guys.
talking. See ya.
See ya.